Who dat to the Who Dat Nation? Welcome to the Dome Patrol podcast, your podcast for the New Orleans Saints here on the KB Radio Network. How is everybody doing out there in the Who Dat Nation? We've arrived to week 5 of the NFL season, where the New Orleans Saints, who now sit at 2-2 thus far, will take on the reigning, defending, undisputed Super Bowl champions from just this past season, the 4-0, yes, undefeated Kansas City Chiefs, this Monday night on Monday Night Football in Kansas City. Yes, they're traveling to Arrowhead, and this will be the biggest test for the Saints the remainder of this season. The Saints will not play anybody as prominent as this the rest of the season. Now, they're going to have some tough games. I'm not saying it's a cakewalk the rest of the way, but this is pretty much the last of the juggernaut teams that they have to play. And they really haven't played that many this season. It's only 4 games in, and they sit at 2-2, but the Saints should be, shoulda, woulda, coulda, 4-0 along with the Chiefs right now. And the Chiefs, honestly, can easily be 0-4. They can flip theirs as well. These two teams are, I can't even describe how opposite they are. The Saints play good for 3.5 quarters and don't know how to finish a game. The Kansas City Chiefs play horrible for 3.5 quarters and somehow pulls it off at the end of every game. It's mind-boggling. Now, a lot of people point to the refs. A lot of people point to cheating or whatever, but they do find a way to finish these games and win them. Good teams find ways to win. Bad teams find ways to lose, which leads me to our New Orleans Saints. And it pains me to say that, but it's the truth. That's the saying. It shouldn't change because it's our team. Bad teams find ways to lose. And the Saints for the past 2 weeks have found new and inventive ways to lose. We're coming off a game against the Atlanta Falcons where we didn't allow an offensive touchdown and we lost. We didn't allow 1 yard of opposing team offense on their last 2 drives, but we lost. It's amazing to me. It's amazing, and people point to the defense. All week I've been listening to these sports talk shows and all this here, and fans of the Who Dat Nation, they're calling up these shows and saying how the defense failed us and all this here. I'm like, what game did you watch? I mean, honestly, it was that one bad play by Paulson Adebo. One bad play. And people ragging on Paulson Adebo, but Paulson Adebo got us an interception earlier in the game. He got us one last week, I believe. Paulson Adebo has been doing a good job. The problem is they keep picking on Paulson Adebo because opposing team quarterbacks utterly refuse to try Lattimore's side. And so they're going to continue to pick on Paulson Adebo. And so I don't care if it's Darrelle Revis or Deion Sanders in his prime. They're going to test these cornerbacks, and eventually they're going to get it. It's inevitable. It's going to happen, and it happened to him. It just so happened to happen to him at the wrong time. Speaking of wrong time, the Saints they're going through this losing streak at the wrong time. Just this past Thursday, the Buccaneers and the Falcons went at it on Thursday Night Football, and a barn burner, may I add, had to go into overtime where Atlanta came out victorious in that game, and now the Atlanta Falcons sit on top of the NFC South. Now, it just goes to show you how quick things can turn in a short week. In a week and a half, things have flipped completely. This time last week, the New Orleans Saints were first in the division. Atlanta Falcons was third. Now we fast forward a week later. Atlanta's on top of the division. Saints are third. Just that quick, just like that, snap of a finger. It's amazing. Yes, Atlanta is now 3-2. They beat Tampa, who is now 3-2 as well, and the Saints sit at 2-2 and face this dynasty of a team coming up this Monday night. There's a lot of I don't want to say there's a lot of stakes in this game, but there's a lot of stakes in this game. Normally, this wouldn't have been a big game. It's an AFC team, not going to really affect us in the playoffs if we were to lose. But how this division is shaping out, this is going to be a dogfight to the end. And so you need every win you can get, and especially now because Tampa, you almost had to cheer for Atlanta Thursday night, which was sickening to my stomach to do. But thank God that they did beat Tampa, because just imagine if Tampa would have won Thursday night, Tampa would have a 2-game lead going into our game against them next Sunday. And so that is a big help for us, especially if we can pull off this win Monday night. But we'll get to that when we get to that. But that was huge as far as helping us, because now it's only a game. It's only one. We're only one game behind. Hopefully, we can tie it up, But as it stands right now, even if we lose Monday night, we'll only be down one game in the division, and that's the most important thing. That should be the focus. Don't worry about a number 1 seed. Don't worry about the seeding. Just worry about the division. If you win the division, life is good. And now, what's going to make our task a little difficult going up to Arrowhead this Monday night is this doggone injury report. Now, I'm going to talk about what everybody's been talking about all week. I'm going to get to that with this potential trade thing, but I want to talk about this injury list because it ties in to that potential trade for Devontae Adams. And it's going to make sense when I get to it. But let's run down the list of players who are, my God. I mean, keep this in mind, people. I need y'all to focus on this for a split second. There are 53 men on an NFL roster, which means there's 53 men in the New Orleans Saints as far as active players, right? 53. Saints released their injury report on Friday. 15 players are on the injury report. Now, that doesn't mean that they're out and whatever, but they're hurt. they are hurt, and they're on the list, bruh. And the list is so long. When I read it, I was like, is this the starting team? I mean, think about it. It's 11 people on offense, 11 people on defense. There's 15 players who are hurt on this team, and that's the ones that we know about. We know there's some that's dealing with little nicks and scuffs and all this here, from playing the last month. And so it's, oh my God, this is so disheartening. Let's read these names. Starting with linebacker Willie Gay. He has a hand injury. He hasn't practiced none this week. They haven't really said if it's broken hand or anything like that. So I don't know the extent of the hand injury. Remember, he left the game Sunday with that same injury, and he hasn't played or practiced since. You can pretty much bank that he will be out. Tight end Taysom Hill. He has fractured ribs. He didn't practice all week, and that's very disheartening because Taysom Hill seems to be the focal point of this offense. The offense goes as Taysom goes, and He's not going. That not with fractured ribs. Guard Cesar Ruiz. He has a knee injury. He didn't practice all this week either. Center slash guard Shane Lemieux, ankle. He didn't practice none this week. Defensive end Peyton Turner, knee. He didn't practice none this week, and that is the one name on this list that I'm not shocked at. You know why? Because he got a sack last week, and you can set your watch to it. Whenever he comes in the game and does something good, he's hurt. It's since they drafted him, and sure enough, he's hurt. Didn't practice all week. Kicker Blake Groupie has a right hip injury. He didn't practice on Thursday. He was a participant on Friday. He is expected to play. I don't know. I don't even know how he hurt his hip. I don't even recall him being hurt in that game. But yeah, he was on the list. Linebacker Demario Davis. He was limited all week with that hamstring. You know, he missed last week's game, his first game he ever missed in his entire career due to injury. It looks like he's on the road to recovery to return. Our rookie tackle, Taliense Fuaga, he has back and knee issues. He was limited all week, but he is expected to be ready for Monday night. Running back, Alvin Kamara, hip and ribs. He was limited all week. We found out on Sunday during the game, at least I did, that Alvin Kamara is playing with a broken rib. He played that game with a broken rib and some hip issue. I mean, all this, he's playing through it, and he is trying. And the production that he gave Sunday was phenomenal. To say he had one less rib to deal with, it was amazing, man. The dude is doing the best he can. He needs help though. He needs help. Tight end Juwan Johnson, Mr. Run out of bounds when there's nobody around me and catch a ball. He has a forearm injury. He was limited on Thursday, but he participated fully on Friday. Not tight end. Defensive tackle Brian Brucey. He has an ankle injury. He was limited all week. Running back. Here's a name we haven't heard in a while. Running back, and this is a good sign to say this, the injury report. Kendre Miller with his hamstring. Remember, he pulled the hamstring or strained it, whatever he did to that hamstring, first day of camp. And haven't heard his name since. He was limited on Thursday, but guess what? On Friday, he was a full participant. And so we can probably be prepared to see him play on Monday night, which would be good, you know, because we need him, being as though Alvin Kamara is not 100%. So that is excellent news, to be 100% honest with you. Wide receiver Chris Olave, hamstring. He was a full participant all week. Another wide receiver, Cedric Wilson Jr., ankle. He was a full participant. Offensive lineman Lucas Patrick, groin. He did not practice this week. Now, Lucas Patrick, he came in and replaced what's his name? Eric McCoy. When Eric McCoy went down, Lucas Patrick was the one who came in and relieved him. And Lucas Patrick did the best he could, you know, at the limited time that he had to prepare, which was 0, and he did a pretty decent job. He got hurt. And so his replacement was Shane Lemieux. Did a pretty all right, decent job. Now he's hurt. I say all that to say this. All week we've been hearing the talks about the potential trade for Devontae Adams. One of his teams high on his list is the New Orleans Saints. You know, him and Derek Carr got a connection that goes all the way back to college. The wide receiver coach for the Saints was his coach in college. And so they got a rapport. There's relationships here for him as a prime destination. I can see him fitting into this offense. I can see him flourishing in this offense. Him and Derek Carr has uh, unbelievable chemistry. The problem is, if you're going to bring him in, you're going to have to change his number from 17 to 7-1, because he needs to line up at offensive guard because we don't have any. We need to focus on our priorities, man. Our priority is this O-line. We are banged up beyond belief. Our offensive tackle, our rookie, he's hurt. Now, I expect him to play, but he's hurting. It's we got 3 centers that has went out in the course of 2 weeks. 2 guards have went out in the course of 2 weeks. This is unbelievable. This is unheard of. I don't know. I don't know. Yes. I'm not a fool. I would love to have Devontae Adams. I would love to have, but bad timing is the timing is not there. Now the Saints did sign a center yesterday. Was it Thursday or Friday, whatever, but they signed the center, Connor McGovern, who I think he played for the Jets. He's 6'4", 306 pounds. He's a veteran, and he knows Kubiak. Well, not I don't think it's Kubiak, but I think him and the O-line coach worked together, either the Jets or somewhere else, Denver, I believe, wherever it was. I forgot where it was. But anyways, there's a relationship there. And so that's somebody you can kind of bring in. He's familiar with the system. And so it should be a smooth transition for him to come in. That's great. I don't follow offensive linemen like that to whereas I can say, oh man, yeah, man, because he leads the league in pancakes, and I don't know. My knowledge doesn't stretch that far, but they're excited about him being signed there now. Hopefully, I can share in that excitement when he takes the field. I'm hoping it's not for long, hoping that it's not a permanent thing. I hope that our guys can come back healthy and take over like we took over the first 2 games of the season. But yes, he was signed to the roster. So he's not on the practice squad. He's signed to the active roster. So with the active roster signing, you have to eliminate a player. So the New Orleans Saints also announced once he moved up on the active roster, A.T. Perry, wide receiver, was waived. He was cut from the team. And that begs the question, what happened to A.T. Perry? What was so bad about A.T. Perry? Because at one point he came highly touted out of college. He fell in the draft because of some off the field stuff that happened in college. But I mean, everybody felt that the Saints had a steal with this guy. And what we saw some big plays from him the first couple of years he was here. Especially under Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston knew to look for A.T. Perry. I think that was the part, at least the start of A.T. Perry's demise, when Jameis Winston didn't get the starting job because they had a relationship. Jameis knew how to find him and knew how to use him. And nobody else could. And especially Derek Carr. He just couldn't use him. And it just didn't work. And now in the preseason, he looked pretty good with Rattler and Jake Hader throwing him the ball. But once again, with Derek Carr, there was no rapport there. And so, unfortunately, he's on the outside looking in right now. Now, with that, if nobody picks him up off of waivers, Saints can sign him back to the practice squad, but I don't know. Why would you? You know, why would you? If you remember during training camp, uh, what's his name? Dennis Allen used to talk cash money trash about about A.T. Perry. Like, man, he needs to step it up and all this other stuff. I'm like, man, what did he sleep with his wife or something? I mean, he is going ham on A.T. Perry. But once again, we come around full circle. Well, there's that spot. We was asking who was going to be that number 3 guy in the receiver room. You know, you bring in a Devontae Adams with a Chris Olave and a Shadeed. There's your 3. Boom, bam, beam. You know, that's a force to be reckoned with. But all the Saints willing to make this change, make this move. I don't know. We shall see. Let's go over our season leaders so far this season for the New Orleans Saints and the Kansas City Chiefs, starting with passing yardage. And this is one of the craziest stats here that I didn't think was actually possible. Well, actually, I say that sarcastically because Patrick Mahomes is not having a good year to say they're undefeated. Statistically, starting with Pat Mahomes, he is 83 for 121, 904 yards passing, 6 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. Before the New Orleans Saints is Derek Carr, 72 completions out of 100 attempts, 824 yards, 6 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. Those numbers are virtually identical. they look the same. They are the same. And this is, we talking Derek Carr and Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes has won, what, 2 MVPs? He's won, what, 3 Super Bowls? I mean, and he's looking like a carbon copy of Derek Carr out there. Yet, one team sits undefeated while the other team is spiraling out of control. Leading rushers for both teams, we have Alvin Kamara for the New Orleans Saints, 80 carries, 362 yards, and 5 touchdowns, and a cracked rib. For the Chiefs, their leading rusher is on IR currently, and that's Persinko with 34 carries for 135 yards and a touchdown. That's one of the problems of the Chiefs. They don't have a run game. That's why they end up signing Kareem Hunt about a week or so ago. Leading receiver for these two teams, Chris Olave is the leading receiver for the Saints. He has 12 catches for 265 yards and a touchdown. For the Kansas City Chiefs, their leading receiver is Rashid Rice, who is on IR. He has 24 catches, 288 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Rice is on IR from the freakish accidents of all time. He didn't do it. Patrick Mahomes ran into his knee and tore his ACL, and he is out for the year. Their leading receiver. And so that's their leading rusher and their leading receiver are both out for the years. I don't think I read the Chiefs injury report. Just to go back for their injury report, like I said, Rashid Rice, he is out. Mike Dana, defensive end, is questionable. Nicole Hartman, their other wide receiver, is questionable. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, running back, he is out. And Kareem Hunt, who they just signed about a week or so ago, running back, he's questionable. So there's that. So this is this is 2 mass units going at it this Monday night. I don't know. Whoever can stand upright at the end of the game, I guess, will be the victor. Which leads me to my predictions for this Monday night's matchup between the Saints and the Chiefs. I gotta go with the Chiefs, and not because they're overpowering the Saints and because they're the champs or nothing like that. It's because Andy Reid, their head coach, is one of the best head coach to ever coach a NFL football team. He's been through it all. He knows it all. He's a championship winning coach. He's he's had it all thrown at him. There's nothing you can throw at him he hadn't seen, and he finds a way to win. Finds a way to win, and Patrick Mahomes finds a way to win. Do I think they're better than the Saints on paper? Not really. They're pretty even, in my humble opinion. But they just find a way to win. You know, if they're able to stick around towards the end, keep it close, we're in trouble. Now we can jump on them like we jumped on Carolina, like we jumped on Dallas, and keep our foot on their necks. Yeah, sure. Of course, we'll beat everybody like that. But you get what I'm saying. We got to come out hot and stay hot. We can't have wasted drives. We can't turn the ball over. We have to really play sound, fundamental football. The Saints can win this game in spite of the injuries, in spite of the lack of what's the word I'm looking for here? Joy or whatever, because all the joy is gone. That was here for the first 2 weeks of the season. Now we're heading back into depression mode. You can tell the players in their interviews and how they leave the field. It's like, oh, here we go again, back to the same old, and that's the way it feels. And the fan base is the same way. We're back into that mopey dopey attitude that we had last season, at least the last 2 seasons, I should say. But keep it competitive. Right now, let's not focus on trying to win the division. Not this week. This ain't the week for it. Don't worry about what Atlanta did. Don't worry about what Tampa is doing, Carolina is doing. Worry about your own self. Worry about this game. If the Saints can come and focus on this game, Saints can win. And my keys to victory for winning this game, if the Saints are going to have any shot at winning this game, Saints will have to find a way to contain Chris Jones. If Chris Jones is able to do what he wants to do and bully this offensive line that is broken, battered, and just I don't even know what to call it. Is it technically an offensive line? I mean, it is depleted all over the place. But if the offensive line can figure out how to keep him in check, the Saints can win this game. Saints need to run the ball. For the past 2 weeks, which ironically are the last 2 losses for the Saints, they have not been running the ball efficient like they did the first 2 weeks. Hence the 2 lopsided victories. Focus on the run game. You can, and those two things are linked together, because if you're running the ball, you're going to neutralize that pass rush that Chris Jones is able to bring. And so if the Saints don't run the ball, we're in for a long night, Monday night. And that's just that. Derek Carr isn't built to sit there and pick you apart. That's not who Derek Carr is. Yeah, it is what it is. I can't even say more on that. But anyways, that's my thoughts for this Monday night matchup between the Saints and the Eagles. Monday, 7:15 on ESPN. Hope we all tune in to that and have a good Tuesday morning when we wake up and don't have to go to work mad. 1, because we stayed up all night, and 2, we stayed up all night to see our Saints get their behinds kicked. So hopefully it doesn't go that way. But I would like to know your thoughts. What do you think will happen this Monday night in Arrowhead Stadium? Will the Saints come out victorious? Do you think the Saints continue their losing streak to 3? I would love to know your thoughts. Email the show, kbradiopodcast@gmail.com. Don't forget, we're on all social media platforms. Just search for the KB Radio Network. Also, subscribe to the KB Radio Network channel. Like this video, share this video. Also, don't forget about the 5 stars, the reviews, and sharing the show if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you are currently listening to the Dome Patrol here on the KB Radio Network. Everybody, thank you for joining me for this preview of this Monday night's matchup between the New Orleans Saints and the Kansas City Chiefs. Be on the lookout for the recap and reaction to that Monday night game the following Tuesday. Hopefully, I'll be apologizing for saying that the Saints will lose. I have zero problems with that. But until then, I'm going to be screaming, "Who dat?"